these are all guys that could be superstars on any franchise, and they are now all on the same franchise, and they take up 95% of their team's possessions.
Yeah.
You can't have that. It
will
not work.
If they're winning is going to cure everything.
I don't think that is correct with James Harden. This is quite possibly the start of something really terrible for the Nets. Let's focus on the Nets side of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just go into the Nets. So I have some interesting statistics that I have to shout out Jimmy High Roller. If you don't watch Jimmy High Roller on YouTube, he's great. Like, puts together some insane graphics, really interesting stuff. There has never been a trio put together that average more points than these three individually. They average 83 points per game collectively. So obviously this may go down with Harden playing with the other two, but it's based on Harden's 24.8 points per game that he's averaging now. So it's already lower than the 30 points he's averaged in the past 3 seasons.
I would imagine that number will go up, actually. I don't think it's going to stay at that. I think because of the way he was playing in Houston, which was like lazy.
Yep.
For lack of a better description, that number is probably going to increase. But yeah, nonetheless, sorry, continue with the stats.
But then the other two may go down. So it should balance out. But the 83 points per game is not out of the realm of possibility for those 3 players.
Yeah.
The next highest scoring trios are the 2019 Warriors with 74.8 points per game. Yep. The 2020 Rockets with 75.9 points per game.
Yeah.
Now, it has to be said that Rockets trio is difficult to kind of narrow down who they're actually including in that. But it's Westbrook, Harden, and I'm assuming PJ Tucker. I'm assuming it could be
the 2020 Rockets. That was
2020 Rockets, and the 1984 Nuggets with 76.7 points per game.
What else have you got there, Josh?
So out of the 14 teams with trios that average more than 67 points per game, only 6 made it past the second round of the playoffs. So offense isn't everything, because only one team actually won a championship, and that was the 2001 Lakers.
Ooh.
That was
a dominant team.
Very good team.
Yeah.
But they did not have 3 dominant ball handlers. They had 3 good scorers, and they only averaged, it was like 71 points per game. I haven't got the stat in front of me, but I think it was only 71.
The 2001 Lakers?
Yeah.
So they had,
3 players that averaged 71 points per game combined.
I don't even think you need to throw in a third player for them. They had Shaq, who counts for 2 guys, and Kobe.
Yeah.
And then the third player could be like me or you. Yeah. But so nonetheless, that team was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So these are all relevant.
So the other troubling statistic for the Nets is the usage rate. Durant, Kyrie, and Harden combined for a usage rate of 94.2%.
Wow.
The next closest team is the Westbrook and Harden Rockets in 2020 with 93.2. So
that's a lot of ball handling.
They did not play very well in the playoffs. It's safe to say that ISO ball does not work in the playoffs, and you'll be lucky to get away with it in the regular season. So of the best big threes of all time, one player has to take a backseat. They have to.
Yeah, I just want to push back. Like their style of ISO ball didn't work out. I think Miami last year, for example, was an example of like Jimmy Butler was doing a lot of ISOs in the finals.
Yeah.
And you need to have a guy, and that's why the Nets have Durant. You need to have that guy that's like, okay, everything's failing. Please score for us.
Yeah, just give me the ball.
So in that regard, that's an isolation style of play that works in pinch situations.
I'll take that, yeah.
But overall, the way they played, Houston was very unique with their play style.
Yep.
That didn't work out, as we saw. They got dominated by the Lakers. That obviously got blown up. So these are all really interesting statistics. The high usage side of it is what particularly interests me, because we can talk a lot about, sharing the ball and one goal, win the championship, et cetera, et cetera. But these players have egos.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, like Steve Nash might be the best possible fit for that type of scenario where you have to manage the egos because he's really good with managing his players and speaking to them, getting them all on the same page. But at the same time, this is a one-of-one type of situation. But not only based on statistics, but based on the personalities we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of the players has decided he doesn't want to play, just flat out. And there's a whole bunch of speculation about why he's done it. We can get into that afterwards. Again, we'd only be speculating. We don't know any facts about it yet. Nonetheless, he is a massive headache for an NBA franchise.
Yeah.
Say what you want about whatever he's dealing with. Maybe it's personal reasons. Maybe there's something serious going on. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's nonetheless like this guy was signed to a huge contract and he's just saying, I don't really
want to play. We've talked about this a lot with Kyrie Irving. He is not a good franchise player.
I wouldn't want him as my number one guy.
I wouldn't want him as my number two. I wouldn't want him in the franchise.
I thought the Nets were playing well prior to the Harden trade and him bailing on the team. I thought they were playing really well together. Their record wasn't perfect. They were gelling. Nash was and the rest of the coaching staff was incorporating schemes, systems, etc., to get them all on the right page and working as a collective unit. Karis LeVert was playing really well off the bench for them. But now they've made this trade for different reasons. I agree. I wouldn't want Kyrie for a lot of different reasons. I think it's mostly because of his unpredictability.
Yeah.
That's a massive, massive thing to keep an eye on. And you could look at this trade as Kyrie Irving insurance. And it's crazy to think that that would even be a concept, considering how talented Kyrie is. But the other side of it, the mental aspect of it, you cannot discount it. What do you think?
I think the Nets have landed three of the best individual scorers of all time.
Yeah.
But
absolutely,
3 individual scorers do not make a team.
Yeah.
You cannot put the best scoring players on a team and go, okay, play basketball. Because on a basketball team, you need players that play a role, that have a role. They go out there, they do their job, and they make sure that their players are open.
There's a history of this. All teams have this with the roles, and everybody knows their spots and places, and you don't step on anyone else's toes. It works out. You win championships.
Which is why teams need to be careful about who they're signing and who they're bringing in. We've seen in the past teams try and add the best possible players into their franchise and then having to blow it up 2 years later because you can't have 4 individual scorers on a team because there's no one else there to help with the defensive side of the ball or the rebounding or to do the little things like setting screens, rolling to the bucket because they all want to get their share of the ball. So how those 3 are going to work on the court at the same time, I don't know. You even look at the Warriors when they brought in Durant and they had Curry. Durant took a back seat.
In a lot of regards, yeah.
Clay took a back seat. Clay was a catch and shoot guy. That's pretty much all he did. He cut to the bucket occasionally, but he was really good defensively. He got the boards that he needed to get, and Kevin Durant did the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like these are all guys that could be superstars on any franchise, and they are now all on the same franchise, and they take up 95% of their team's possessions.
Yeah.
You can't have that. It will not work.
I definitely agree with that. There is, like, just to play devil's advocate, there could be a situation where they realize that they've never played with this level of talent before, like maybe Durant with, Curry and Thompson and Draymond to that degree. But there could be nights where basically Kyrie's got the hot hand, so they feed him. And if they're happy for him to just score all the time, if they're winning is going to cure everything.
I don't think that is correct with James Harden. James Harden, they were winning with Chris Paul. They were winning with Westbrook.
Yeah.
Albeit it was not pretty, they were winning, right? Winning doesn't cure everything because we've just seen Harden walk out on a franchise that literally bent over backwards to his every demand. And
he's a special one.
He is in a new situation where he is not going to get the same treatment. He's not going to get all the freebies that he got in Houston. He's a new player on a franchise that's trying to win, that hasn't had any success there for a very, very, very long time.
Early 2000s.
At all. Yeah. I guess so, but they were New Jersey then anyway.
Yeah.
So, look, Brooklyn have never had any success as a franchise.
Brooklyn itself, yeah.
This is quite possibly the start of something really terrible for the Nets.
Maybe.
If they cannot play together, where do you go from there?
Here's the thing. Durant, okay, so the other angle of this is just regarding the players is they can opt out after, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They can all just leave.
Yep.
Now, I don't think they're going to prioritize Durant. Durant is arguably the second best player in the league.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose a guy like that. They will probably, if anybody's going to be on the way out, it's going to be Kyrie, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Because I think Durant and Harden are going to be a better fit together than Kyrie and Durant, just in terms of the offense. Imagine running a pick and roll with Durant and Harden. How do you defend that?
Yeah.
So just on a purely talent look at it, just looking at the talent of the two guys, that duo should work out okay.
Yep.
But at the same time, again, there's still an ego thing. We don't know enough about how Harden is now that he's on a new team and he has a different outlook. The Houston thing was a little bit catastrophic towards the end, and everybody was unhappy. So I think now with a fresh start, we should see a different side of Harden. That's what I want to believe, although it remains to be seen. They did play today, and Harden had a triple-double, scored 34 points, 14 rebounds, 12 assists, I believe it was. He had 9 turnovers.
Yeah. He's the first player to debut with a 30-point triple-double, which I know. It's James Harden, so this is the problem with this is individually I would have any of them, play for my team as players, as basketball players, individually on their own. I would have them on my franchise. As a collective, I would keep them far, far away from my team. Because of the personality issues.
Such a weird combo.
They're so volatile.
It's such a weird combo.
Kyrie at any moment could just go, I don't really want to play today. James Harden could be like, look, I had a big night last night. So I'm just...
James, you said that for the last 3 nights.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
I'm probably just going to have tonight off.
Yeah.
Which is what he used to do in Houston, which is why those players had so many problems with him, because he just wouldn't turn up to training.
And the funny thing is, you could argue that Durant is a little bit of a... Not a head case, but overall, he's the most trustworthy player on the team because I haven't seen too many guys more passionate about getting better and playing basketball than Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He's been on the record saying he just wants to hoop in places, and he wants to ignore all the BS off the court and the rumors and all the stuff that happened in Golden State. Whose team is it? Do your rings count because you went to this team, et cetera, et cetera. He just wants to play basketball.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I would keep Durant above all else. That's a really cold take, trust me. But at the same time, if you can keep Durant and decide who you want to keep between those other two, I think you're better off than trying to make all 3 work.
Okay.
That's how I feel about the Nets. I think because you have the potential to run that type of pick and roll between those two, if you surround them with shooters such as Joe Harris, it remains to be seen if DeAndre Jordan has a truly important role on this team aside from rebounding, if he's going to help them or hurt them with his lack of shooting.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out. But you do need to have a big guy on the team. It's kind of the Houston Rockets showed that. I remember seeing a picture when the trade first happened. It was potential Nets lineup. It was Jeff Green, Durant, Harden, Joe Harris, and Irving. I was like, who's grabbing the rebounds? There's no who's defending the rim?
Yeah.
There's nothing
it'd
there.
have to be KD. You'd play KD at center, and then what are you doing to his? Yeah, exactly. What are you doing to his frame?
Yeah.
The only other takeaway I would put out there is that someone has to take a back seat out of those 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know who does it.
It's going to be Irving, I think.
Well, KD would be the most willing because it's KD. He just wants to win.
Historically, yeah.
But he also came to Brooklyn to be the guy. He went to Brooklyn to be the franchise player.
You would think
Kyrie was supposed to be his second-hand man, which apparently... there's been reports, whether they're true or not, I don't know. He's not happy with. He doesn't want to be second fiddle to anyone. He wants to be the guy, and he's not good enough. I'm sorry, Kyrie. You're not the guy. If you're watching this, please stop. Stop. You're not the guy.
Please.
You're not it. You're not. I feel bad for KD because KD has now gone to a franchise. He wanted Kyrie there. He wanted a friend there that he could be like, let's play basketball. Let's win. And Kyrie's like, nah, sorry, I'm going on a sabbatical. I'm not coming back until I'm ready.
It's unreal. I think Kyrie is the number one headache of all time, maybe.
Yeah, this Brooklyn Nets team, this could get ugly. And I'm hoping for KD's sake that it's not, because I really want Durant to be successful as an individual. I think he's had some tough situations. Playing with Westbrook wasn't pretty. Leaving to the Warriors gave him a really bad name. So I'm hoping that he can, rebound and have his image maintained at a new franchise as the guy. But yeah, Kyrie and Harden aren't the two players to help him do that.
I would pick Harden over Kyrie if that's really what it comes down to.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you there.
Either of them it's difficult to get really confident behind that.
Yeah.
So that's just the net side of things. Overall, there's even more angles to cover there, but
man, we could go on for days with this. This is probably, in my time, the biggest trade there's been. No superstar like James Harden, MVP winner, has been traded in a situation like this.
Not that I can think of. I'm probably missing something, but it was not in recent memory.
I just came up with that. I don't have anything written down. So if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I don't really care.
At Josh.
Yeah, at me.